I wasn't invited to the housewarming of their new place, so I reached out to let them know I wanted to give them a housewarming gift. They finally agreed to invite me over. But after driving 5 long hours, my daughter-in-law, Daisy, tried to take only the gift money and send us away. She kicked the box of vegetables I had brought with her foot and hurled insults at us. "Hurry up and show us the new house," I urged her, but she sang out in a mocking tone.
"No dirty country folks in my brand new home, please. Don't bother us again."
I exchanged a glance with my mother-in-law, Linda. How did a simple dress and jacket make us look dirty? Oh, right, we must just look like country folks to her. I felt the energy drain from my body. Sorry for being dirty, I murmured an apology. Daisy smirked in triumph and shut the gate in our faces. Just because she lives in the city, she looks down on us farmers as if she's on another level entirely. I won't forgive her. She'll regret treating us like this very soon. My name is Karen, a 62-year-old homemaker. I live in a peaceful farming community, growing organic vegetables without pesticides, synthetic fertilizers. When I lost my mother in middle school, I took over in the kitchen for my dad, who wasn't much of a cook. One summer, I started a small balcony garden as my independent research project. I added some baby greens I had grown in planters to a breakfast plate alongside a fried egg. When my dad tasted it, his face lit up with a big, heartfelt smile. That smile stayed with me, and after graduating high school, I joined a company that ran a farm specializing in selling organically grown vegetables. With the motto, "Vegetables that make everyone smile," I dedicated myself to growing fresh produce. Later on, I married Nate, who had been a team leader at the farm, and together we dedicated ourselves to a life in agriculture. When our first son, Mike, was born, we decided to go independent, aiming to build a large, community-focused farm in our hometown. Together, my husband, mother-in-law, and I worked tirelessly toward that goal. The hardest part of organic farming is managing the weeds. Since we can't use herbicides, it becomes a literal battle between us and the weeds. We spend a lot of time bending and squatting, so taking care of our bodies is essential, especially with the added risk of heat stroke in the summer. Even so, I keep working the fields, drenched in sweat and covered in dirt, inspired by the thought of people happily enjoying the vegetables I've grown. When Mike was a baby, I would leave him with Linda, who had retired from farming, while I went out to the fields. As he got a little older, I started bringing him along, and he would help me with tasks like planting seeds and pulling weeds as part of his playtime. I have fond memories of inviting Mike's friends over to the farm to help harvest potatoes together. In this area, it's common to think that children should follow in their parents' footsteps, and we too hoped that Mike would one day take over the farm. Since he had helped in the fields from a young age, we assumed that he enjoyed farm work as much as we did. However, when Mike reached middle school and entered his rebellious phase, he stopped helping out on the farm altogether. Even when I'd asked him to help out, all I got was a half-hearted response as he continued playing his video games. One day, Nate finally lost his temper.
"Mike, are you still planning on being the successor to this farm?"
I didn't choose to be born the eldest son of a farmer. Don't make that decision for me.
Mike yelled back at Nate and stormed out of the house. He returned by dinner time, but a cold war set in between him and Nate afterward.
"Nate, let Mike pursue what he loves."
At Linda's words, Nate nodded in resignation. After that, Mike left home to attend a high school in the city with a dormitory, which was 5 hours away by car. In the beginning, Mike would call or message Linda and me, but over time, the calls grew less frequent, and eventually he stopped reaching out altogether. I told myself that no news was a sign he was doing well and kept busy with my vegetable farming. But one winter morning, Nate suffered a heart attack and passed away. Through my tears, I sent a message to my son, and he replied right away, saying he'd come immediately. That night, he returned home. Our joy at seeing him again after 16 years was short-lived, as Linda and I were completely taken aback. To our surprise, my son had brought his wife along. He had married without telling us, and on top of that, he had even taken her last name. He had become part of her family as a son-in-law. Linda and I were so stunned that we forgot our tears and simply stared at him and his wife. Sitting beside my son, who had come back home, was a stunningly beautiful woman with a captivating smile. My cousins, who lived in the same town, also looked on in amazement.
Are you Mike's mom and grandmother? Nice to meet you. I'm his wife, Daisy.
Wearing makeup that was far too flashy for her black morning dress, Daisy introduced herself in a sugary sweet tone. She glanced at Linda and me with an unreserved look, then spread a mocking smile across her face.
Karen, do you go to tanning salons? You know, these days everyone's into fair skin. Oh, sorry, I forgot. You work in the fields, right?
From the sleeves of her morning dress, her pale, slender arms extended gracefully, as if to highlight the contrast. She seemed to imply that Linda's and my sun-kissed skin was somehow unbecoming. Ignoring the disdain in Daisy's tone, I gave her a warm smile. Daisy, it's a pleasure to meet you. I apologize for the delayed introduction. I'd love to meet your parents sometime. Would it be all right if I came to visit them soon?
Oh, there's no need for you to come. My dad, being a city guy, probably wouldn't be too thrilled about country folks coming into the house.
Daisy flashed a spiteful smile. I held back my anger and made a suggestion. Then, how about a restaurant?
Oh, he's a CEO. He's way too busy for that. He runs an online shopping company.
Dolce, right? Is it by any chance Daisy Shopping Mall?
Oh, you know it well.
I'm going to take over the business.
Mike, who had been chatting with Linda, chimed in from the side.
I won over her father, so I became part of their family. We live with him now.
Did you not tell us about the marriage because you thought we'd oppose you becoming a son-in-law?
Yeah,
Your father probably wouldn't have liked it, but I still wish we could have been there for the wedding.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I hope this wraps up soon. 5 hours by car is way too far.
Daisy muttered beside Mike, her voice dripping with complaints. She hadn't helped with a single aspect of the funeral preparations, yet she had the audacity to complain. Frustrated with Daisy's selfishness, I, as the chief mourner, continued to be consumed by the preparations for the funeral. As expected, Daisy skipped the memorial service.
Even if he was my husband's father, he's still just some old man I never met. I gave Mike the condolence money, so isn't that enough?
Daisy said, her tone dismissive. She continued, laughing lightly.
Honestly, Karen, how can you live in such a rural area? You're not getting any younger. You and Linda should just move to the city.
I can't leave. I have the farm to tend to.
Why not just sell the farm? And don't expect me to help with elder care or anything. Not my thing.
I'm not expecting you or Mike to take care of me in my old age. By the way, Daisy, do you like flowers? I held back my anger and asked.
Flowers? Yes, I do.
Good. You know, I also grow edible flowers. I could send you a potted plant, like carnations or violas.
Oh, no, please spare me.
Daisy interrupted.
I'm sure they're that organic kind, right? I prefer cut flowers from a florist, so no thanks.
She said in a high-pitched voice, rejecting my offer before hanging up. After the call ended, I glared at my phone. What was she even talking about? Even cut flowers from a florist are grown with immense care and effort by flower farmers. Even if she hasn't grown anything herself, you'd think a little imagination would help her understand that. I couldn't help but worry. Was my son really going to be okay with a woman like that? About a month later, on a day while I was taking a break from farm work and enjoying a cup of tea in the living room, Linda came in from the garden. Linda and I had lived on the same property since I first got married, freely moving between our houses over the years. Today, as usual, she'd come over with some treats she'd received from a relative who had just returned from England, hoping we could enjoy them together. I poured her some tea, and we nibbled on the cookies from her gift.
By the way, it seems Mike's house is finished.
At Linda's casual comment, I nearly spat out my tea. What? Excuse me?
Oh, Karen, you hadn't heard either? Keith said just now that his sons were invited to the housewarming for the new place.
Linda explained calmly. You mean Mike's cousins, Henry and Alex, right? They moved to the city back in elementary school because of their father's job transfer. And even after he was sent to England on a solo assignment, they stayed in the city. Let's see. One's the CEO of another company and the other's a doctor. Isn't that right?
That's right. I heard they invited some local friends too.
A sigh escaped me. No doubt that daughter-in-law of mine had only invited city people. Being disliked this much just for being from a rural farming family, it made me feel more sadness than anger. Setting aside my tea and treats, I sent Daisy a message. Before long, my phone rang.
Karen, what do you mean by wanting to come for a housewarming visit?
Exactly what the message says. Mike's cousins were invited to the housewarming, weren't they? I'm his mother, after all. I'd like to see the house too, though I didn't even know you built one.
Daddy had it built for us. Wait, Karen, are you actually coming?
Her thoroughly annoyed tone irritated me, but I responded with an intentionally cheerful voice. I couldn't attend the wedding, remember? This time, I'd really like the chance to celebrate with you.
Oh, fine then. In that case, why don't you give us $20,000 as a combined wedding and housewarming gift?
It felt outrageously high, but I knew that if I backed down now, she'd likely never invite me to their home. All right, let me know a date and time that works for you. I told Daisy as much and ended the call. At least this way, I could vent some of the frustration of not being invited to the wedding. That evening, a message arrived from Daisy. She said she'd be available next Saturday around noon. As I was replying, Linda chimed in, I'm going too. Linda, we'll be driving, you know. It's 5 hours one way.
I know, but if I don't, when will I ever get to see my grandson?
All right. When I informed Daisy that both of us would be visiting, she sent over the address of their new home. Finally, the weekend arrived. We set out in the early morning, while it was still dark. After more than 5 hours of driving, we arrived at the address she'd given us. It wasn't hard to spot Mike's new house. It was a magnificent mansion with pristine white walls and a stylish nameplate on the gate. I took a box of vegetables out of the car trunk, while Linda stood beside me, holding a bouquet of freshly watered roses in a bucket. Standing in front of the elegant gate, my heart raced with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. I rang the doorbell, and after a moment, Daisy appeared in casual loungewear, yawning as she brushed her hair back. She stood in front of the iron-style gate with an indifferent expression.
What brings you here on the weekend?
I told you we'd be visiting today. We came to celebrate your new home.
Oh, did I agree to that? Anyway, where's the $20,000?
When I pulled the gift envelope from my bag, Daisy snatched it from me and stuffed it into her pocket without a second thought. Beside me, Linda shyly offered Daisy the roses wrapped in newspaper.
I know you like flowers, right? I took out all the thorns. You could put them by the entrance.
And here are some vegetables: potatoes, carrots, onions. They're organic, so they taste great. Suddenly, there was a loud thud. Looking down, my eyes widened. The box had been kicked over, and half of the vegetables were scattered across the brick-style tiles at our feet. Daisy, in her sandals, crudely stomped on the potatoes scattered on the tiles. Then she reached out her hand toward Linda's roses. Just as I realized what she was doing, Daisy clenched the delicate pink petals in her hand, crushing them. Linda and I could only stare in shock at the pink petals scattered across the tiles as Daisy sneered at us.
Look, in the city, we have flower shops. Roses are available all year round. And vegetables, too.
I know. Fine then, just show us the new house. But Daisy responded in a sing-song voice.
Oh, I really don't need dirty old ladies messing up my brand new house. Please don't bother us again.
Linda and I exchanged glances. How were we dirty in our new dresses and jackets? Oh, right, in her eyes, we were dirty because we were from the countryside. I felt the strength drain from my body. Daisy had never intended to let us in from the start. She'd only wanted the generous cash gift and was planning to mock us and send us back after our long journey. Sorry for being dirty, I murmured quietly. Daisy gave a triumphant smile, then closed the gate. She walking back to the mansion with a light, almost gleeful step. I heard the sound of the front door locking, followed by Mike's voice.
Was someone here?
Just a persistent salesperson.
Beside me, Linda crouched down and began picking up the scattered rose petals Daisy had tossed. I joined her, gathering the pink petals and wrapping them carefully in the newspaper.
So beautiful. And now look what's happened.
Linda murmured, her head bowed as tears spilled from her eyes. We thought that a gift of flowers would surely bring a smile, even to someone as spiteful as Daisy. With that in mind, we carefully chose beautiful flowers and even took the time to remove every thorn. Yet this is how it turned out. Even with the vegetables, we chose familiar, hearty ones that would be easy to cook with and less likely to bruise, rather than any specialty produce. Linda, who was 82, would have limited opportunities to see her grandson in the future. That's why she had endured the long drive to get here. Seeing her shoulders shake with quiet sobs tightened something in my chest. Just because she was raised in the city, Daisy looked down on us farmers, acting as if she were a class above. I will forgive her for this. She'll soon regret treating us like this. The following afternoon, my phone started ringing incessantly with calls from Daisy. I let her stew for a while before answering, only to hear her nearly in tears on the other end.
Why didn't you tell me?
I glanced over at the man seated on the sofa. What should I tell her?
Tell her to come here immediately.
Daisy, your father wants you to come here. 30 minutes after, I gave her the room number of the hotel where Linda and I were staying. Daisy arrived, her hair disheveled and her expression frantic. It seemed that even the arrogant Daisy couldn't stand up to her father.
I'm sorry. No, I sincerely apologize. Please, I'm begging you, reconsider canceling my father's contract.
Watching her apologize with the same mouth that had insulted Linda and me yesterday, bowing over and over like a humbled grasshopper, was truly satisfying.
Do you think an apology is enough? Before considering business partners, remember that these are your husband's mother and grandmother.
Daisy's father scolded her, his face red with anger.
They came to your new home, and you kicked their vegetables, crushed the flowers they brought, and then took the gift money before sending them away? Is that how a decent person behaves?
Hearing the recording of Daisy's insults, which I had discreetly started the moment her tirade began, had her father fuming. Yes, yesterday, as soon as her abuse started, I had quietly pressed the record button on my phone tucked in my pocket.
But I had no idea Karen was the CEO of the major company 4-Leaf Farms.
That's not the point at all. You even lied about the wedding, saying Mike's parents opposed the marriage, and that's why you couldn't invite them.
Daisy, overwhelmed by her father's furious shouting, sank to the hotel floor, pressing her forehead against the carpet.
I'm sorry.
Well now, what should I do? There are plenty of other companies eager to do business with us. Canceling this deal wouldn't bother us in the slightest. I crossed my legs, sipped my iced coffee through a straw, and gave Daisy a smiling but unmistakably threatening look. This was satisfying. In the hotel room with us were Mike, whom I'd called over, Daisy's father, and Linda. Yet Daisy had no one on her side. In truth, I'd already received her father's sincere apology before she arrived, and we just finalized the deal successfully. But I figured I'd keep that little detail to myself for a bit longer. Linda, what do you think? The new variety of roses we wanted Ken to review ended up crushed too, didn't they?
It's such a shame. They were in full bloom, only to be scattered. The poor flowers.
Linda said, a frown forming on her brow, making Daisy shrink further.
I'm sorry. I thought they were just regular roses. I didn't know they were something rare. Really, I didn't.
It's not about whether they were rare or not.
Her father responded, his face stern.
Mike, don't just stand there. Apologize with me.
Why should I apologize? I just found out about all this when I got called here. This is all on you. Seriously, turning away an 82-year-old grandma who drove 5 hours just to see her grandson? That's heartless.
Mike, who had always been close to his grandmother, clearly couldn't forgive that part. Exactly. Oh, and Daisy, let me fill you in on something else, I said, giving her a gentle smile as she knelt at my feet. The shampoo, conditioner, body soap you use, even the hand cream and that special farm custard with acacia honey you love to order as a treat for yourself, all of it is organic, the very thing you supposedly despise. At my words, Daisy looked at me, stunned and bewildered. After a brief pause, she burst into loud, mocking laughter.
Oh, you must have heard about my favorites from Mike. Those are all botanical products. Not knowing the difference between organic and botanical. Karen, you're a bit old to be so uninformed.
It's the same thing, just a different term.
Mike explained, his face twisted in discomfort. Daisy's father sighed, covering his face with his hand, looking thoroughly embarrassed.
What? No way.
In other words, you've been living surrounded by the very organic product you mocked as dirty and country-like. I added with a smile, watching as Daisy's face turned pale. It seemed that for Daisy, this revelation was more distressing than the prospect of her father's deal falling apart. She clawed at her long hair, ran her hands over her skin, and muttered to herself in a panicked daze.
No way. All the stylish products are labeled botanical, and they say they're good for your skin and body, so I've been using them since I was a kid. Why don't they just label it as organic? It's misleading. If I'd known it was the same as that dirty, country-style organic farming, I'd never have used them.
Daisy, how could you say such a thing?
But Dad, isn't it true? When I think of the countryside, I picture something smelly and dirty. People raised in the sophisticated city are worlds apart from country folk. It's like nobility versus commoners.
It seemed Daisy was completely serious. I shrugged and turned to look at her father. Well, excuse me, but believe it or not, I was born and raised in the city myself. Isn't that right, Ken?
That's right, Karen.
What?
It's been 10 years since our class reunion, I added, exchanging a smile with her father. Yes, with his unique last name, I had suspected it. And sure enough, Daisy's father was my classmate from middle school. We had served together as class representatives in our 9th grade year.
Didn't I mention it? My mom grew up in this town. She moved back here when she started working.
Daisy's eyes widened in shock. It seemed she'd never considered that possibility. I'm glad you think I look like someone from the countryside. Thank you. After I threw that bit of sarcasm her way, Daisy stood up with a sullen expression on her face. She brushed the dust off her skirt and, in an arrogant tone, addressed me.
I've bowed enough, haven't I? So you'll do business with Dad's company, right? Isn't that enough?
What are you talking about? We still have the main topic left to discuss. I scrolled through my phone and held up a particular image for Daisy to see.
What? Can't you just let me go ho?
Her complaints trailed off as her expression twisted into panic. She lunged, desperately trying to grab the phone from me, but I was taller and she struggled to reach it. In the midst of her frantic attempts, Mike reached over, took the phone, and along with Ken, looked at the displayed image. Both of them froze.
You were cheating with my cousin?
Mike's voice trembled with anger, while Ken, looking utterly exhausted, dropped his shoulders in resignation.
Oh yes, just recently, Keith came by, happily showing off this photo. Alex got himself a gorgeous girlfriend, he said. Left this photo behind when he went back home.
The other day, over tea, Linda had casually shown me some instant photos that shocked me. They were sweet pictures of a man and woman cuddling cheek to cheek or exchanging kisses on each other's cheeks. Charming, if not for the fact that the woman was Mike's wife. Keith hadn't been able to return in time for the recent funeral, which is why he hadn't met Daisy. So he had no idea that his son's girlfriend was actually his nephew's wife.
No, this isn't what it looks like. We were just messing around. We had some drinks, got a little carried away, that's all.
You went drinking together? So all those times you said you were working late were lies, weren't they?
Under Mike's intense, bloodshot gaze, Daisy seemed to tire of making excuses and let her true feelings slip out.
What's wrong with going out for drinks? He's been a city guy since elementary school, he's stylish, and he's a doctor with a great income. Unlike Mike, who only left for the city in high school, a fake city guy.
Daisy,
So you admit you cheated with him? Hey, get back here.
Mike shouted as Daisy dashed out of the room, and he quickly ran after her. Left behind, Ken kept his face in his hands, murmuring softly,
Karen, I'm truly sorry.
"You don't need to apologize, Ken."
No, it's my fault. losing my wife early on, burying myself in work. I spoiled her. I'll straighten her out, and I'll see to it she returns the $20,000 as soon as possible.
With a groan, Ken stood up, his face pale and drawn. He looked like a shadow of the man who had arrived earlier. When you have a troublesome child, it's hard on both of us, isn't it? Take care. Hunched over, Ken trudged out of the room, shoulders slumped in defeat. Later, Mike confirmed the affair with his cousin, 5 years his junior, who admitted to it. Furious, Mike cut ties with his cousin and handed Daisy divorce papers. After the divorce, Daisy repaid the full amount of the wedding gift, and her father assigned her to a position at a rural branch office. Reluctantly, she accepted, only to find herself involved in an experimental project to cultivate new types of vegetables on reclaimed land. Now, every day, she's out in the fields, covered in the dirt she once despised, drenched in sweat as she works. The nearest convenience store is a 50-minute drive away. It sounds like a much more remote and inconvenient area than where I live.
Every day is a battle with muscle soreness. Sunscreen is useless because the sweat just washes it off. I'll never have fair skin again. Dad, I've learned my lesson. Please let me come back to the city.
Apparently, messages like these arrive daily, but Ken told me he's been leaving them on read without replying. It seems Daisy has no way to escape, even if she wants to. After all, while living in the dormitory, she has to cover the property taxes on the mansion her father bought for her. Plus, she has monthly alimony payments to Mike. Working with vegetable farming in the countryside might finally make her stop looking down on rural life and organic farming. As for me, I'm still busy as ever, running 4-leaf farms as its CEO. Between attending meetings with independent farmers and discussing business expansion with the vice president, I make time to visit the fields personally, checking the conditions with my own eyes before giving instructions. Mike, perhaps feeling awkward, hasn't contacted me at all. However, he does stay in touch with Linda, messaging and video calling her regularly. I heard from Linda that Mike has since switched careers and is now working as a delivery staff for a service that delivers organic vegetables. As for the succession issue, there are many young staff members who are eager to take over my farm, so I'm planning to rely on them when the time comes. But even though I often complain to Linda about my sore back and aching knees, I'm still going strong. As long as my body allows, I want to continue growing delicious vegetables with passion.